You led Congress to 3 consecutive victories in Delhi. What or whom did you devote this success to as of today? Who do you think was the reason behind your success in Delhi?
Well, the first win was because people they found that the then BJP government had failed to give them anything in Delhi. So they wanted to remove them, and the Congress was the only alternative. It was a two-party kind of a system. The second one was they liked the first time's work, and the third time was also because they liked the change that they could see in Delhi. And the reach was to each and every citizen. If there was a widow who needed some financial help, that was given. If it was a road that had to be built, that was done. If it was a metro that had to be done. So all that, seeing the progress of Delhi and a very visible change that happened in Delhi, they decided to vote us for the third time.
So, ma'am, what happened in the fourth term when you lost and the Congress party lost? Do you think there was a miss of connect because your party's leadership that you essentially got in the previous 3 terms?
No, I will tell you what, there was a sense of fatigue. All right, let's change now. What the fatigue was about, it changed. But more important than that was an opportunity they got in the persona of Mr. Kejriwal. Mr. Kejriwal went around giving freebies everywhere, announcing all kinds of things. Nobody will be charged for water, nobody will be charged for power, and so on and so forth. So people got just carried away. They thought that in spite of the fact that they knew in India, Delhi was the richest state, people here were doing very well, the average income was the highest in the country, and everything was there. But somehow they got carried away by this freebies, as I said. And as I said, there was perhaps a sense of fatigue also.
So people wanted a change. But ma'am, as you said about the freebies, do you think till date you are living in Delhi, you have been living over, that Kejriwal has managed to live up to any promises that he made?
Not at all, not at all. But he's got 3-4 more years to go, and people are already beginning, especially the educated and the middle class, upper middle class, which went for him at that time. They've realized that all that he said was absolute untrue, is not coming true at all. So people are beginning to realize, and I am sure that in the next 2-3 years, people will completely realize that they have been fooled, and the popularity. You see, there is another point. Kejriwal, it's taking long because Kejriwal is spending about 256,000 crores, 256,000 crores on merely propagating himself, advertising himself, and it's only advertisements on himself. I've done this, I've done that, and we used to spend about 30 crores or 20, maximum 30 crores, but otherwise it was normal 20-25 crores. So I think perhaps the advertisements that he did and is continuing to do are having an impact on people, though even that is wearing out now.
But ma'am, Mr. Kejriwal, as far as I remember, actually pointed fingers on Congress and BJP both, saying that you all got money from FDIs and that your money was completely illegal. But as you right now said that at a maximum for any election you would spend 30 crores, whereas Mr.
Not election, even the government would spend from its own coffers only about 25-30 crores.
Yeah, but today Mr. Kejriwal is spending around 250 crores.
Yes.
So where do you think that money comes from?
That money is taking out from the government. That is why he was not able to pay the employees of the MCDs. You remember that? The poor MCD employees had to go without pays. So he cuts his money on what he thinks is not a priority. For Mr. Kejriwal, what is slowly coming out is that he is the priority, not Delhi.
But ma'am, having said that, do you somewhere believe in politics as of present day, marketing is taking over the motive of service? Because essentially, as we saw, Mr. Mahatma Gandhi served, he became a leader. Mrs. Indira Gandhi served, became a leader. But today we see how BJP, led by Mr. Narendra Modi, had an elaborate campaign. he won. In Bengal recently, Mamata Banerjee had an elaborate campaign, she won. Bihar, and even for that matter Delhi, as you said. So do you think marketing is taking over the motive of service in politics?
Well, it's taking over for the time being, but eventually I can tell you one thing, that eventually people do realize that if something has been marketed, you may buy a toothpaste for instance, because it's been very well marketed. But if you find that it ruins your teeth, then you don't buy it the next time or the third time over. So marketing is very good, and marketing is the order of the current civilization, current system. But I don't think it can take the place of actual and real work. When things are seen, look, Mr. Modi is repackaging everything. Mr. Kejriwal is repackaging everything that the Congress has done. Now, you may repackage it, and so sometime people may not realize it, but eventually when they find that there is a kind of a standstill and that things are going back, I am sure people will realize that just advertising and packaging is not good enough.
But what is something which actually makes the people choose Congress? Do you think it is the dynasty politics as everyone calls it, or do you think Congress has something different which others party essentially don't?
Well, we have a stable leadership, the Gandhis and the Nehrus and the Gandhis had given India very stable and very, what shall I say, a leadership which people have faith in. So, that is one. Number two, all these years of our independence, 70, 75, 76 years, is the Congress which has ruled this country. And from whatever has happened in this country, whatever growth has taken place, wherever we have, whether it is the green revolution or the white revolution or the revolution of technology, which is Delhi, India is a very technologically very savvy country now. All this has been done by the Congress.
But Mr. Modi has done more technologically savvy country to India than Congress did.
Modi is talking. He is talking, no doubt about it. But whether it is reaching down, I am not too sure. People are beginning to question that.
Ma'am, you represented India at the United Nations Commission on Status of Women for 5 years from 1984 to 1989. Do you think India today has a stronger representation of women by and large?
No, I am afraid it does not have the kind of stronger representation which we should be having. We do have chief ministers. I was there, Mamata is there, Jayalalitha is there. All that has been there. But these are only, they are not. They don't represent the whole of womankind. Yes, you're there. We've had a president of India who's been a woman. We've got Sonia Gandhi, who's been leading the Congress. We had Indira Gandhi, who was the Prime Minister and led the Congress. We've had women of outstanding ability and capability, but at the grassroots level and at the general level, even in Parliament, we have a few women. In assemblies, we have a few women. So, the amount of women that we should have is not there.
Ma'am, do you somewhere blame the Congress for not doing it, because essentially it has been power more than any other party, and since the independence, as you said, women have not got that representation. So, somewhere down the line, is Congress party responsible for that?
I would say, the social structure is responsible for that. Somehow, people always, all parties, when they choose their candidates, if it's a woman, the first question is, will she be able to win or not win at all? And she has to work probably 3 times as much as a man to be able to prove that yes, she is as good or as capable. But it's somehow a society which has gone on like this, but I do hope it will change now. And all over the world you find America has not yet had a woman president. UK has only had one woman Prime Minister. So, this is a trend all over the world.
Ma'am, coming back to Delhi politics, what makes the people have faith in Mr. Kejriwal again? Because essentially he resigned after 49 days of government, and after that he did not win any seats in May in the local election, municipal election that happened, but he regained power in the next Delhi elections, actually had a landslide victory defeating BJP also.
Absolutely.
So, what is that something that again he managed to regain in the people? What is that force?
Well, as I told you, he is a very smart at promising freebies, and He is apparently somebody who speaks convincingly. People don't, have not, and there has been no occasion to really judge that what he says he does also. So there was this novelty about him, and that's why he came back with such a thumping majority.
Ma'am, isn't it worrying at the end of the day that your vote share fell below 10% and that 63 out of 70 Congress lost the deposits of there? So isn't it worrying at the end when you see that? Do you somewhere blame the party leadership by Sonia Gandhi and by Mr. Rahul Gandhi as well?
No, you can't blame the leadership for this. You can only say that yes, it is something, it's a wake up call, somewhere we have faltered, but it's nothing to be so panicky about that we will never be able to recover. After all, these 5 or 4 municipal by elections which took place, you won a good 4 out of those 8 or 10. So it was good, and so ups and downs in a democratic system always takes place. It does not mean that if you have lost once, you have lost forever, or you have won once, you have won forever. It keeps changing.
Ma'am, mentioning some of the freebies that Mr. Arvind Kejriwal promised, 30,000 beds in jobs in 900 sectors, 25 schools, 1.5 million CC cameras, and he promised to reduce the VAT then. He said that he will reduce the VAT. So how is this going to happen? There is no money in the government. As you said, he is actually wasting a lot of money in marketing, and he has all these promises. So do you think somewhere down the line that Mr. Kejriwal is digging his own grave?
Well, I thought certainly he is going to get, people are going to realize what he has been saying is neither achievable nor does he have the capacity to achieve it. So that will come out sooner or later, and I am sure it will come out sooner than later. But to win an election, certainly one can say Mr. Kejriwal succeeded.
So Mr. Kejriwal, despite of making all the false promises and after resigning, also managed to succeed.
But at that time when he resigned, it was such a short period, nobody ever knew what had really happened. You know, it was just about 40 days or 45 days or some month and a half, 2 months. Nobody knew that he would. And then, you know, he has this way of doing, if I may use the word, gimmicks, you know. He sat outside Railway Bhavan and went, you know, into a fast. Whole night he was sitting in the cold and all. Now, that is not the job of a chief minister. The job of a chief minister is to act and to do things. An opposition, yes, I can imagine that. So, he was who he was opposing, nobody knows and nobody understands. So, but it was too soon for him
Comment about
to, yes.
Ma'am, has the late Mr. Dikshit been an inspiration for you, and how has he been a support for you?
Well, you see, I belong to a family where my father-in-law was a great freedom fighter and a partner with Indira Gandhi and her father Jawaharlal Nehru. They all worked together, and he was in the Indira Gandhi's cabinet also. My husband, late husband, was a member of the Indian Administrative Service. So, and he belonged to the UP cadre, and he used to very often say that if it wasn't for the fact that you had to earn a livelihood and look after the family, his first choice would be service to the people through politics. But since he couldn't join politics because of this constraint of not having money and having to earn a livelihood, he chose the next best thing, and that was the Indian Administrative Service. So, my husband was the only child of his parents. So, I got inspired by both my husband and my father-in-law and the family to join politics and see what I could do too.
Ma'am, how did your husband's sudden death affect you?
It affected me very badly, very, very badly, because it was a sudden death and he was just 48 years old. He was a brilliant person, and it was a great loss to the service and to the work of the country that he could contribute towards the country. But I must say that Rajiv ji helped me a great deal, and he asked me what he could do, and I said, just give me a lot of work, and you know, I'll be able to, because both my children were not settled at that time, they were both in college. So he gave me a lot more work, and getting involved in work made me forget myself a little bit. The the hurt was there, the wound was there, but it didn't impact my work. So that was a great
So
help.
Mr. Rajiv Gandhi helped you come back in a very strong way.
Yes.
Ma'am, coming back to Delhi, even today, Delhi being the capital of India has power issues. I understand there is a lot of population in Delhi, but essentially Calcutta, from where I come, does not have so much of power issues. Last 5 years has been terrific. Miss Mamata Banerjee has improved. So ma'am, and where I am staying, Panchsheel Park, one of the major sectors of Delhi, does have power not have power for more than 8 hours, and it's not a new thing that we can actually blame Mr. Kejriwal for that. What do you think were the shortcomings there? Because your government, I think, did not take it.
Who do you blame then?
Ma'am, it is over
Because
15
when,
years.
as long as I was there, my Congress government was there were no power cuts.
Ma'am, there were power cuts.
No, there weren't. There weren't. I don't know if your colony had some particular problem with it, but there were no power cuts. 1998, just before we came to power, there used to be 8-hour and 6-hour and 7-hour power cuts. You found no generators now in Delhi, but they are coming back again. And this has started happening in the past 6-8 months since Mr. Kejriwal took over. Because if you are not going to charge for the electricity, the rate that needs to be charged, or you are going to make false promises that we are going to give you free electricity, where are you going to get the electricity from? So, you are going to cut it. Now, it could also be inefficiency. I do not think Mr. Kejriwal's government is an efficient government at all, because when we were there right up to 2013, there were no power cuts. There may be an occasional one, local power cut may have been there, I would not say that, but otherwise Delhi was not known for its power cuts then.
Another major incident that happened in your reign was the Nirbhaya incident. How did you deal with that? Because there was a lot of criticism that your government did not have enough measures for the women. How did you deal with that?
We dealt with that. I must tell you that that was a shocking incident. It was a very shocking incident. But you must understand that Delhi is not like other states. It is a union territory, and the police, which is supposed to give security to the people of Delhi, does not come under the government of Delhi at all. But we did go to the Home Ministry, we went and met the Lieutenant Governor, we went and met the asked the police commissioner to come on to take steps, because this was just not acceptable. And we had, it was our initiative, our Delhi government's initiative, which brought in this law, where the trial of people, rapists, was hastened, was made much faster. But I must tell you one thing, that governments are to blame for this. Certainly, the responsibility to give a secure atmosphere is the government's, whether it is the central government in this case or the government of the state.
Ma'am, but when Nirbhaya happened, essentially in union territories, the police comes under the direct jurisdiction of the center as well as with the hand of the governor. Center Congress was there, in the state Congress was there. So, it was a total elapse on the part of Congress.
No, beta, but I must, you are a young person, and I must tell you this, that the the central government was a Congress government, no doubt about it. We suffered on account of it also. I do not say Nirbhaya was one case which contributed towards our defeat also, not being able to handle it properly. But I must tell you that through you, that society also has to look at things, you see. We have to see how we respect and protect our girls, our women in all our society, because you can't expect the police to be there everywhere, There are rapes which take place within households and all that. So, society also has to reinvent itself, has to see where it is going wrong and see that.
But ma'am, when people came out in the protest of this, essentially the cannons, water cannons were fired on the students. Now, what do you have to say for that? Because again, you can blame the police for it, you can blame the commissioner for it, but they come under the direct jurisdiction of the center.
No, I agree with that. But if they were becoming, threat to law and order, These cannons must have been used for that reason now.
But ma'am, you were the chief minister and there were actually people, students fighting for a right. Ma'am, why didn't you go and support them?
I did.
Ma'am, you went after 4.5 days, but 3
No,
days.
no. I went there after the third or fourth day, maybe 4 days, whatever it was. I did go there. I was also, not welcomed there, certainly, but I went there. I lit a candle. I did everything. What else would you have expected?
Ma'am, you could have told the police to stop there because.
Yes, we did tell them. But you see, if at India Gate, which is where most of the crowds were, if at India Gate things were going out of hand and the crowds were becoming, much too excited, then they had to keep the law and order in place.
Ma'am, but a student leader there said.
Would you have rather said, would you suggest that they should have let it go?
No, ma'am, but it was a silent protest. It was a peaceful protest.
No, it was quite rowdy at times also, and the police only used the cannons and everything when it became necessary, not otherwise. Otherwise, how would so many people have collected there? They collected there. Had it been a peaceful demonstration, they tried to break the barriers and go towards Rashtrapati Bhavan and towards the north and south block and all. Now, these are not allowed because those are forbidden areas.
So, ma'am, you also went to the extent, your government rather went to the extent of closing the metro. The people who wanted to fight for a cause were let down because I understand that there was a mob, but a metro is made out of the citizens' money and it is their due right to use the metro and not essentially everyone going to the metro would.
No, but if there is a threat to the metro and you are going to break the metro.
And no one was breaking the metro.
No, I am sorry. If people sit in front of the metro, or lives can be, hurt by the metro running. So, it is wiser not to stop it for a while, look at it and all, but it was not done as a deliberate thing, it was not done to stop anybody. But if it came out of hand and suppose something had happened there, somebody had been killed under the metro or something had happened, then what would have happened? So, you have to sometimes take steps which may look as though you are being stopped from doing something, but things have to be stopped because of the larger good.
Moving on from Nirbhaya, in 2009, the Delhi Lokayukt investigated a complaint filed by Mrs. Sunita Bhardwaj, a BJP worker essentially, and she blamed you on misusing 3.5 crores which you received from the central government on actually making personal buildings and not for the urban development under the Rajiv Ratan Yojana.
Awas Yojana.
Yes, ma'am. So,
who is this? I have never heard of this lady. I am sorry to say. I don't know who she is. And everything is there. She doesn't have to blame me. Where do you think I took the money? All by myself? I couldn't have done it. Students must realize that all the money that is spent in government is properly taken care of. It is scrutinized. You just can't go and spend anything you feel like. There is a budget there, allocations are made, nobody goes beyond allocations, and sometimes you don't use those allocations, that also comes out. It cannot and will not go into anybody's pocket. And this is the first time I am hearing about this. I have never heard of it earlier.
Okay. Ma'am, you said, and I quote, Congress party did not have coordination. They failed, and that is the reason they lost elections. Ma'am, do you think coordination is a job of a leader essentially? Do you think the top level of Congress leadership, because again you said we had meetings after meetings but nothing essentially happened with your interview with Mr. Karan Thapar. Do you essentially think that the leadership was the reason why we lost in Delhi, why Congress lost in centre also?
No, I am sorry. There is not just one reason that you lost. There are many reasons. This could be one of the reasons, and I say only one of the reasons. The real reason was there was a sense of fatigue, there was a sense of changing. In a democracy, please, all over the world, people like to change governments, and this is what happened in India. India is a very vibrant democracy. So, this thing, and it does not necessarily mean that you have failed in everything, but there is sometimes a hope which is created by somebody else, your opposition.
But change essentially happens because the present is not right, and that's why people want to change.
No, let them change. They want not only change, they want to perhaps make it better. So, they do it. Now, they will see. Already you find that though the change that they brought, they have started missing the Congress. So, next time around the Congress will come. This is something which is nothing unusual in democracy, and in fact, the strength of democracy is the strength of the people and the fact that they can change when they want to.
Ma'am, the election of Delhi that happened early 2014, in which Mr. Kejriwal again won with a coalition, ma'am, you went on to say that you were actually feeling uncomfortable because you were not invited to some rallies, and that you
No.
So, ma'am, but you said you were feeling uncomfortable. But what exactly happened?
What do you mean? What did I say uncomfortable about?
Ma'am, that you were not invited into rallies. This was
No. I merely said that if wherever I'm invited, I go. That's all.
Ma'am, but then nothing happens there. Like you again, as you said earlier, I have told you that the coordination was not there, and you was one of the eminent
Look,
members.
if you're going into the details of why we lost, a study has already been made. There were several reasons why we lost, and but as I've given you the 2 or 3 main reasons, that there was a sense of fatigue with the Congress government. 15 years is a very long period, and there was this new person who had come, who was giving them all kinds of all free, and making promises which nobody could fulfill. But people got carried away and felt that they wanted a change. So, they got a change, they asked for a change, and they made the change. Now, it is the people who made the change. We tried our best like we do in all our elections, but it just didn't work.
Ma'am, after your end of your political career, you resigned. You were given a post of the governor of Kerala. Why did you resign that? That was a pretty...
I resigned from there because if you remember, the government of India, the then government of India under Mr. Modi, was asking all governors to resign, and they said this thing. So, I came here, I met the Home Minister, and I told him, please don't ask me to resign, I am going to resign anyway, because this is your policy. It's your policy, you want to follow it, I don't want to continue. I just need a couple of days, 8 days to pack up, and I did that.
Ma'am, today the general notion has become कि हम पढ़ाई नहीं करेंगे और हम politics में घुसेंगे. Seeing the transformation that Mr. Narendra Modi had, Mr. Rajnath Singh had essentially, and most of the BJP leaders who grew day after day. Do you think that notion is right? Because people refuse to study when countered by their parents. They say कि हमको पढ़ाई नहीं करना है, हम तो नरेंद्र मोदी बन सकते हैं, हमको क्या जरूरत है पढ़ाई करने का, अगर एक चाय वाला प्राइम मिनिस्टर बन सकता है तो हम भी कुछ करके बन
why not? This can be there, but with all the billions of people in India become Narendra Modis, only one will become Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, or one will become the Chief Minister. The posts are there. It's people's choice if they want to do something like that. And I don't agree with that just because somebody else has become, you also become that. You have to work very hard, whether you are a chaiwala or whether you are, somebody who is a lawyer or anybody at all.
Ma'am, on a very ending note, the last few questions. Ma'am, after Narasimha Rao, after Indira Gandhi, Congress came back. Do you think 2019 election Congress has a chance of coming back?
Of course it has a very good chance.
So, you say that even though the leadership may be a weak on the upper hand, that people think?
No, look, 2019, what the mood of the people will become, what the performance of Mr. Modi will be, beyond what he keeps on saying. If people can feel a difference, they will take a different opinion. It's not fair to predict something that will happen, but we in the Congress are confident that we will come back.
Ma'am, do you think somewhere Mr. Modi is putting his foot on two boats, one being Hindutva, since his party's close connection with the RSS, and other his slogan being Hamara Bharat badal raha hai, aage बढ़ रहा है, on development. Do you think that Mr. Modi is putting his foot on two boats?
No, RSS is a part of their organization, their political party. Their RSS, they're non-political, but the party which trains them. Okay, fine, that's all right. भारत बदल रहा है, किस तरफ बदल रहा है? That is the important thing, na? It's not that बदल रहा है, बदलता तो है every day, every second, every following day is not the same as the first day. So बदल तो रहा है, but किस तरफ बदल रहा है? That is the critical thing, and that will be decided by the people in 2019.
Ma'am, do you suggest youngsters to have politics as a career option? Do you encourage them to take up politics as a career option, or do you think that there are too many threats, there are too many ups and downs, and not to take politics?
Well, if you're prepared for the ups and downs, then you're welcome to take politics. Everybody is
But
welcome.
it's a good career option for youngsters?
Not for all youngsters, but somebody who has an inclination and who has a desire to take politics, there is no bar to it. But not every youngster can become a politician, because then you won't have anybody else left to do anything else.
Ma'am, one last question, as I always end my interviews. Are you happy? When you look back today with whatever you have done in your life, are you happy?
Yes, I am happy. I have lived by certain principles. I have never broken those principles. And I think I could have done much more, but I did a lot for Delhi. And when I was with the government of India in Rajiv Gandhi's cabinet, I did the best I could over there also. I have always tried to do, as a human being, as a person, individual person, I am just one of those who, whatever I take up, I try and do it to the best of my ability. But to say that I am totally satisfied, one is never satisfied, one could have done better.
Thank you so much for talking. It's so nice talking to you.